Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
What's going on, folks? Welcome into the Fairways of Life show from wherever you are joining us around the world today. It's a pleasure, as always, to have your company. So, yesterday's show, where we started to talk about the game of golf and how it's defined, how big it is, how important all of you are to it, caused a lot of buzz. So we thought today we'd put a little bit more, numbers behind it so that you can fully understand what we're talking about. Because my whole theory was that we are spending so much time right now, collectively, all of us, golf media, as golfers, etc. We're spending so much time talking about what's happening at the top of the competitive game, right? Golf's competitive tours, that at times we don't notice that the game of golf itself, what I call the 99.99%, all of you, is absolutely booming. It's healthier right now than it has ever been before, right? Take a look at this graphic that we have for you that kind of gives you, call it a snapshot of where the game is right now. And then I'm going to get into the details of some of these different elements so that we understand it, because I think in a lot of ways we have spent so much time stressing over where this player is competing or where that player is competing and what it means in terms of how people are consuming a golf on radio and on television and mediums such as this one, that we're losing sight of the fact that the game of golf is doing great. Thank you very much. Right? It's something that I keep on wanting to point. So let's, Andrew, let's first of all take a look at this graphic that shows people how big golf is from a financial standpoint. I want to start as a baseline with this one so that they have an understanding of what we are talking about in terms of golf's, I'll call it golf's financials, if you please. The game of golf has a direct economic impact in the United States of just under $102 billion. Its total economic impact is 226 and change billion dollars. Now, that first line item of 226, it's important to realize that that's also ancillary income. So, for example, if you buy real estate, say you go to wherever, Florida or Myrtle Beach or Arizona, and you buy real estate and you bought it on a golf course, that's ancillary income. That contributes to the 226. The $102 billion is direct economic impact. And remember, this is just the United States. At golf courses, and this does include the highest tiers, but at golf courses from coast to coast, there was 141,000 charity events. This is the last reporting year. 141,000 events, which again brings me down to the 99.99%, which I say you guys fund everything. You are the lifeblood of the industry. $4.6 billion raised. That's in 1 year. $4.6 billion for charity. Let that sink in for a second. We often talk about charities raised through the tour, for example, in saying, well, 4.6 billion is bigger than all of the other major sports combined. But it's important to realize that that much money is coming from multiple sources. The tour is certainly one of the engines that drives it, no doubt. Jobs impacted by golf. That we have a dollar sign up there, but it's actually 1.65 million jobs. Total rounds of golf played, 510 million. Again, this was the last reporting year. Since that time, it's up at least, there you go, just saw it, Andrew corrected. It's up another probably 30 million. So we're talking somewhere in the vicinity of 530, 540 million rounds. Of all the golf facilities in the United States, and there's just under 16,000, 73%, almost 3/4, are open to the public. And then it has golf tourism expenditures of $31 billion. You want to fly down to, like I said, Myrtle Beach or Florida or Arizona or wherever you go in the wintertime, or where you want to go and play golf, Pinehurst, or you go up to Boyne in Michigan, et cetera. $31 billion in terms of that. So I wanted that as a baseline so that we understand how massive the golf industry is. And the numbers that I just gave you, save for the percentage of charitable contributions that the tour does provide, all of those other economic data that I gave you, by and large, is the industry at large. That's how big the golf industry is. For example, I'll give you some examples. The running shoes industry in the United States is $48 billion. Pet supplies in the United States, right? Everybody's got pets. They're a member of the family. Pet supply business in the United States is about the same size of that direct economic impact of golf. You would assume with a country with 330-something million people that, and everybody having pets, that pet supplies would eclipse the golf industry. It doesn't. That's how big the golf industry is. That's how important the golf industry is as an economic vehicle. And it's the reason why in May, We Are Golf, this coalition of the industry, comes together. It includes the Golf Course Superintendent Association, includes the Golf Course Owners Association. They get together in Washington, D.C. to try to meet with the politicians to say, stop. If you're still harboring thoughts somewhere in your heart and your mind that golf is somehow a hot potato politically, then spare us that, please, because it is employing millions of Americans in generating many, many, many billions of dollars directly to the U.S. economy. It's a critically important part of the U.S. economy. And again, as I keep saying and will reiterate throughout, that comes down to you guys. You guys are truly the fuel that drives that engine. Without it, it wouldn't exist. The drop down that Andrew just put in there shows you what golf's reach is now. And that's another discussion that I'm going to get into in terms of how golf measures itself, because until relatively recently, it was woeful in terms of how it measured itself against anything else. You name it. If you have something that is, as I call it, an economic engine, it's going to be up against other economic engines. And back in the day, golf, by its own definition, measured itself by participation. And it was on-course participation, which we'll get into today. So the game was measured at roughly, at the time, 24 million. And people would look at that and harumph and go, please. Dom, you could tell me, I know you can pull up these numbers quicker than I can, but back in the day when the comparison would make, people would laugh and go, please, golf, 24 million. NASCAR is 75 million. Right? How many people watch the Super Bowl? 120 some odd million people? Right? And I look at that and go, there's two problems here. One is golf is being mismeasured because you're not measuring the game based upon total consumption. Total consumption. You're basing it on one metric. Whereas you're comparing it to a sport that's using every metric. Seriously, when was the last time anybody you know drove a stock car? When was the last time the vast majority of people that watched the Super Bowl, and I'm talking US-based, these numbers, when was the last time any of them threw a football? There was some percentage, and it's probably higher than those that drove a stock car, going to the beach or what have you. Get it. What I'm saying to you is that when you talk about total consumption, and Andrew, you can pull back up that chart. When you talk about total consumption, it has to include all touch points in terms of how someone consumes the sport of golf. For example, over 100 million people watched golf. 66 million consumed it. They read about it. That could be a book, it could be in newspapers, could be online, but they read. 50 million specifically sought out and followed the game on social media. And then 45 million, that's the combo number, which I'm going to get into in a little bit here this morning, consume the golf with a club in hand in terms of how that is defined. Yeah, Dom, go ahead. Let's take a look at the other sport numbers. Tell me about the other sport numbers.
Well, I'm just going to share with you some of the fan numbers. Forgive me, I've got like 7 screens. I'm looking all over the place. It makes me laugh because of the comparisons that you're making. These are global numbers. Volleyball, 900 million fans. Table tennis, 850 million. Basketball, 800 million. Like, when was the last time you had a ping pong match? It's probably been a while.
Right, but that's okay. They're measuring themselves correctly. I'm saying golf used to not measure themselves correctly.
That's my point. I'm saying these are the numbers we're up against. Meanwhile, golf 10 years ago was saying, it's 20 million. We're doing great.
Well, if you're going to compare golf on a global basis, though, golf on a global basis is bigger than, I'm going to say the NFL, but the NFL is bigger than just that. It's football, but American football, because football is also football around the rest of the world, which is soccer, right? And golf is above it on the global scale of sports. Total consumption. So what I'm trying to do is provide a baseline here so that we all understand who and what golf is. And there are so many different elements to it. And again, this came out of yesterday's discussion and the massive response we got from people going, I guess, all of a sudden going, when you think about it, we are vesting so much energy and emotion to a certain point, because then people start to fall off and go, you know what, I'm just going to wait till they figure it out. With golf at its highest competitive tiers, yet the game is booming everywhere else. It's the reason why I've advised caution. I don't have a problem with the R&A and the USGA looking at equipment and going, no, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years down the road, we have to make sure that we have regulations in place so that the equipment doesn't outpace the game in terms of the golf courses, footprints, et cetera, any way you want to define that. But the caution that I'm having in there is that if you make hard and fast rules now based upon what the 0.1% are doing at the highest tier of the game and apply those regulations and rules to 100% of the game, then I think you're running the risk of the same thing that we're talking about and everything else, is forgetting who the 99.99% are that are the fuel that drives the entire rest of the industry. So I guess what my theory is here is that the amount of time, the amount of emotional investment, even at times financial investment when it comes to things like I was just mentioning, is too much of an emotional and financial investment for the tiniest percentage of the game. They'll work it out. They'll figure it out. And it's a great source of entertainment. But what I'm underscoring here is it doesn't represent the true game of golf. The true game of golf is actually represented by all of you, which is why I always ask you the question, who represents your interests? Who speaks for you at golf's highest tiers? Dom, did you put together a question of the day based upon the direction we've started on this morning?
I did, yeah. It's a pretty simple question, in fact. We're so focused on this fractured game. Would you rather play golf or watch golf? Already we're at 81% are like, yeah, I'll be playing golf. I don't care about what's going on over here. I want to play golf.
If you want to weigh in on our question of the day on any day, just log on to the Fairways of Life YouTube channel and you can vote accordingly there. So 80 some odd percent would say they would rather be playing golf than watching golf, which I understand that, but I think watching golf is just like, to me, it's like watching any sport. Generally, whatever you do, whether it's gardening or whatever it is you're doing, whatever your thing is, a lot of times you do it during the day and then you come in and you catch your sports at the end of the day or in the evening. And in golf's case, my guess is, pardon me, gardening? Yeah, there's a lot of people that are, this is the time of year for that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Talking about 50 different things and you're just like, for example, gardening.
Yeah, a lot of people.
That's your example?
It's a big deal. Yeah, and it was a big, I was thinking about it yesterday because it was so gorgeous up here. Obviously, we're in Studio 2 again today and tomorrow. It was 85 degrees, 86. Like Central Park was a warmer spot that I saw, the different temperatures they were given in the area. and the flowers are all blooming. They look beautiful. Went out and took a big walk around the city and did a lot of videos I'm going to put together for you guys at some point here and put it on social and our platforms. I just, it's a beautiful time of year. To me, I always felt like spring was a time of year that you earn, right? Going through the cold winters and all the rest. And it's just, it's been absolutely awesome. So we have a lot of stuff to go through, and we have some very, very important people to weigh in on what we're talking about today, as well as some legends of the game to weigh in on what we're talking about as well, to continue to help us define this discussion. What is the game of golf in 2024? And where do you fit in on this? What's its real definition, so that we can look at the game with sober eyes and go, you know what? The game of golf has some things that it's trying to figure out, and I do believe that it's going to figure it out. But the game at large is not only fine, it's great. More of the Fairways of Life show coming up right after this. The PGA Tour Superstore is where you can fine-tune your game. Go do some gardening on your golf game at the PGA Tour Superstore with pros. You are shopping with pros. That's such an important distinction. You can go to other big box sporting goods stores, and I guarantee you they are not golf experts. At the PGA Tour Superstore, they are. Go to your happy place.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I've ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try this. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm gonna go after the PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Hitting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Getting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're gonna need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com. As we welcome you back to the Fairways of Life show, Matt Adams here with you. Dom and Andrew are behind the glass. So many times when you hear golf at its highest levels, where they're talking about governing bodies or tours, etc., there are certain catchphrases that they'll use. They'll talk about golf's ecosystem, which basically I think, defines golf's power structure, if you will. They'll talk about it. Even yesterday, we were reading quotes from Guy Kinnings, and he was talking about the fact that they need to bring these various factors together in order to, and fractions at that, together to define the future of the game, which is what launched the whole discussion yesterday, because my comment was that golf's leagues are the driving force of golf's entertainment. And it is entertainment, and it's wildly entertaining. And I, for one, love it. I call golf at that level all the time a buffet. Take from it what you want, what you consume. Something you love, somebody else thinks is horrible. Okay, it's your buffet. Take what you want. But the prospect, the thought of defining golf's future is driven by the professional tiers is where I have a divide, because golf has, and in my view always will, figure itself out. It's not driven from the top down. It's driven, in my view, from the base level of the game up to the top tier. And I don't know, you guys could tell me better, I guess. I don't know if that's the case in all sports. Obviously, what happens on the top tier, the entertainment level, is going to drive popularity in terms of how people follow the tour, and that can translate. If you look at the history of golf, say, in the United States, when into the late 1800s, the latter half of the 1800s, primarily when you had immigrants coming in from Scotland, some from England, some from Ireland, but primarily Scotland, and they brought their clubs along with them, etc. And they started to introduce golf as a game into the United States. The 5 original clubs in the United States, the original U.S. Open, as it's phrased now, but as it was structured, it was really there for the original U.S. Amateur, but the U.S. Open was an oh, by the way, and it's kind of switched in terms of primary importance. That was at the Newport Country Club in 1895. And then I'm just going to just broad stroke. In 1913, you had effectively Tiger Woods and John Daly in Harry Vardon and Ted Ray of their day, at their prime, touring the United States, and they play in the U.S. Open at Brookline, the country club. And they get beat by a 21-year-old caddy in Francis Ouimet. Well, what that did for the game in the United States was it took a game that was then truly a game for an elitist game. It was. But it took it what they call in the media terms, the historic terms, above the fold. So you think about a newspaper, unfold a newspaper, it brought it above the fold, the top half of that front page. So it was rare for golf to get anywhere near the front page, and now it's at the top half because of that story. And it inspired, and it helped. Latter half of those teens into the 1920s, you had Walter Hagen, you had Gene Sarazen, and then you had the introduction and the emergence of Bobby Jones. Bob Jones, as he preferred to be called, but to the public, he was beloved, and it was part of Grantland Rice's structuring, and they were all part of it. The marketing, it was Bobby Jones. They loved him. Achieves the Grand Slam in 1930, right as the United States, the world, is thrust into a depression, a time when people wanted and needed heroes, and they found one in the purity of the image of the same from Bobby Jones. Then you had the emergence through, just prior to, through, and after the Second World War. Remember, in 1945, you had Lord Byron Nelson with 11 wins in a row and 18 wins in one season. And again, people will say, well, that was against diluted fields because of people in the Second World War, but they forget that Hogan and Snead were amongst those players that were already back by then. So you can't take away from Byron Nelson how remarkable what he achieved was, and that beautiful golf swing that was really timeless. But that triumvirate, the American triumvirate of Nelson and Ben Hogan and Sam Snead, all of whom were born in the year 1912, defined golf through that period at its highest levels, really right up into the late 50s and into the early 60s. Then who emerged at that time? Arnold Palmer. Arnold Palmer came to the game right when television discovered the game of golf. And who starred as its matinee idol? The good-looking kid from Western Pennsylvania with that million-watt smile and a go-for-broke golf game. Did he inspire? You better believe it, he inspired. Early 1960s, the world is introduced to Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus would redefine the game. Jack Nicklaus, to me, is as significant to the game of golf. He rises above the game of golf in terms of his significance, because I believe that Jack Nicklaus would have been a champion in any era in which he competed, including today. Right? Because when you compare eras, you always bump into that. Would Babe Ruth be a great baseball player in today's world? A great hitter, if you want to define it more specifically, right? And you could have a huge debate about that. Speed, fitness, et cetera, et cetera. There's all kinds of different ways you could approach it. Jack Nicklaus was different. The ground force power that he generated when he smashed into a golf ball was something that I believe would have been universal even today. And it even surprises me to this day that there's not more people teaching a Jack Nicklaus golf swing. And from that Nicklaus era, which you could define from 1962, when he took down Arnold Palmer in a playoff at the U.S. Open at Oakmont, literally in the backyard of Arnold Palmer, right? And he survived the taunts and everything else that went with Fat Jack back in those days, et cetera, into the late 60s, early 1970s when he got lean, but he still had that same golf swing, powerful as all get out, that same mind, and it carried him until his last major championship at the Masters in 1986. And during that span, the players that competed against those two, including most prominently, of course, Gary Player, golf's first true global golf star, all the way through. All those players that they faced, all those Hall of Famers that they faced, all those multiple-time major champions that they faced, right up through and to. And that brought us into now the late 80s, early 90s. Wasn't a big span. It's remarkable when you think about it, from Jack Nicklaus to the introduction of Tiger Woods. But during that span, you had the likes of Tom Watson continued to be a force. You had Tom Kite in there. Of course, I could go through so many Hall of Famers that had an impact. Davis Love III, with his contention in many majors, winning a major in his own right. Justin Leonard did during that time. Of course, Nick Price, multiple ones from Greg Norman, and so many weeks as world number one. That was all that era, right? And I'm broad brushing, so forgive me if I'm not hitting your favorite here or there. Until we were introduced to Tiger Woods in the late 1990s. And so when we had Davis Love III on recently, I asked him about this evolution that brought us into the modern day of the game at its highest tiers and how that relates to participation in the game. Here's what Davis Love III had to say about some of these gents I just mentioned.
Well, I remember, I was working with Butch Harmon for a while, and I remember in LA one time when Tiger was playing as an amateur, I said, "Hey, how's the kid doing?" And he goes, "Oh, he can't hit a wedge the right distance." He goes, "But when he figures out how to hit his wedges the right distance, you guys won't be able to beat him." And I said, "Come on, Butch. He's not that good." And Butch's like, "Oh, yeah, he's that good." So, of course, Tiger figured out how to control the distance on his short irons eventually, and we couldn't beat him. But like Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus, Tiger brought a whole new generation of fans, of players, of now tour players to the game. And, you can argue Tiger, Jack, Arnie, all you want, but those three guys made golf popular and fun and exciting and cool. Fred Couples added a lot of cool in there too, but you can't put it past Tiger because he, with the modern technology of golf broadcasts, he made golf what it is today. And, hopefully we get to see a lot more of him. I love watching him and Charlie and the father-son, but I'd sure like to watch him in Augusta this April.
Fascinating stuff there from Davis Love III when he joined us on the Fairways of Life show. When we come back, we're going to continue down this road and discussing the impact of everything that is going on right now. Like, for example, I realize that fans on some level have started to become disconnected to, I call it lightning bolts between the gods in terms of what's happening to golf at its highest competitive tiers. But is it possible that actually what's happening is we're seeing an industry right itself? I know so many people on each side like to illustrate the wrongs, primarily about what they view as the other side. But is it possible that what's happening here is an actual economic correction in the game of golf? We'll talk about that prospect in more as Fairways Life continues right after this.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The Gen 6 iron is a culmination of everything that we have learned as a team, the absolute best golf club I've ever hit. It's something special. Say hello to the new PXG Gen 6 iron. The longest, most accurate irons we've ever made. They go higher and farther than any iron that I have hit to date, and they're so easy to hit. Super excited for the consumer to try this. They're gonna love them.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm gonna go after the PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy? Hitting the 524 series from Tour Edge.
Hitting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're going to need all the easy you can get. Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge, the easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy.
I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour.
Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Order yours and save. Visit zerofriction.com/stride or scan the QR code to order yours today. Stride, your personal caddy.
As we welcome you back to the Fairways of Life show, broadcasting through Studio 2. We are just outside of New York City. I'm up at NBC Sports hosting Golf Central this week. So one of the things that I think is interesting in the conversation about what's going on with golf at its highest competitive tiers in terms of players staying with or leaving the PGA Tour, the impact of the Strategic Sports Group investing in the PGA Tour, creating PGA Tour enterprises, the news that came out last week. I saw an article from Rex Hargard here at Golf Channel. You can find it at nbcsports.com, where confirming that equity is going to be paid out to the players. They get vested on a 8-year cycle, but at 50% at 4 years and 75% at 6 years, and the balance at 8 years accordingly. And what that all means. And then on the other side, of course, players who have chosen to go to live, and where critics will say, well, the game has become about greed, which I think is interesting because, and maybe this is a normal discussion in the world of sport. It's just not a normal discussion in the world of golf, I can assure you. It hadn't been. But in the world of sport, maybe not so much in the world of entertainment, I do think that we as sports fans have become somewhat numb to the contracts that professional athletes are getting paid. And I'm not one of those who looks upon that and goes, well, someone is getting paid too much, because we're convenient in terms of where we make those judgments, be them economic or moral. And forget, for example, do we not have the same perspective when it comes to an entertainer? How much does Taylor Swift make per show? I saw somewhere, printed media, I have no idea if it was valid, of like $10 million per show, something like that. It sounds like that could be possible. So you do a big tour and it's worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. Rolling Stones bring in hundreds of millions of dollars with their tours, for example. Okay, none of that really surprises me. Does it bother you? Is that because you're not a concert promoter? So you look at it and go, that's the way it is. I wish tickets weren't so expensive, but they are what they are. And so, again, there's this divide in the game of golf where we have this discussion of the top competitive tiers and how expensive they are. And somehow it casts a pall over the game of golf as the game of golf being something that's immensely expensive. And I look at that and say, well, wait a minute. How does the game of golf compare to other choices you could make of where you wanted to invest your time and thus your money? Right? How does the game of golf compare to a ticket to go, a ski lift ticket? $160. These are the averages. The average NFL ticket is $121. And there's people that are hearing me say that, are looking on their television screen and laughing out loud right now. They're going, yeah, where are you sitting for that ticket? Concert ticket, on average, $112. You could do the same thing there. A Broadway ticket is $100. NHL ticket, again, is average $83, because all of these are average against, and that's what I'm talking about, because the nosebleed is going to bring down the average. NBA ticket, $51. Again, if you want to get to where you actually see halfway decently, you're going to pay considerably more than that. MLS at $48. Then you see a round of golf. The average in the United States, I told you, almost 75% of courses in the USA are open to the public. The average is $43. I hear you, those of you that are in metropolitan areas that golf is massively popular and you can't get out to play for less than $75. I get it. I hear it. But the average is $43. MLB ticket, because of those massive ballparks, and again, because of what you can get in the outfield and up high, $37. A movie ticket is $12. Now, if you took that, because I talk to you guys about this all the time, and say, yeah, but when I take my 2 kids and my wife and we go out to an event, what's the cost there? Because what you just saw me go through doesn't include parking. You want to get something to eat, you want to get something to drink, and all the rest. So average group cost, this is based on a family of 4. NFL $631, NHL $462. And believe me, this is the baseline. NBA $445, MLS $300, Major League Baseball $267. If you want to take them all out golfing, playing, $172. And so, am I biased to bringing all this up to you guys today? Yes, 100%. Unabashedly, without trying to disguise it. I absolutely am. Because I think the game of golf gets so easily maligned in terms of what the impressions are of the game versus the reality of what the game of golf really is, and how accessible it is, and how within reach it is, etc. And when it comes to that discussion about the top competitive tours and what players are getting paid, Casey Alexander is a lead golf strategist analyst. He has been for decades. He's at Compass Point Research and Trading. And Casey joined us to say, what you're seeing here that people may be using because it suits their agenda and they're labeling it as wanton greed is actually an economic correction in the marketplace. Let's hear what an expert has to say.
It shows you how the nature of compensation for golfers, which are almost inarguably global sports superstars, is changing. You know, you think about the nature of compensation in other sports, football, baseball, basketball, soccer. 90% of that compensation is contractual compensation, and only 10% of that compensation is performance-based compensation. A lot of it is based upon performance that has already taken place, but it's contractual compensation at its heart. And golf has traditionally been almost 100% performance-based compensation outside of perhaps club endorsement contracts. And when you think about it, that's not the way that global sports superstars are paid, and not in this day and age. And so the idea that a global sports superstar can come to your event, provide his name, image, and likeness, participate in your pro-am, spend 2 days promoting your event, have a bad Friday afternoon, and walk away with zero compensation, that's not the way that a Rory McIlroy or a John Rahm is going to be compensated in a day and age where they are global sports superstars. So the deal with SSG is designed to provide an element of contractual compensation to PGA Tour players and to global superstars, because that's what LIV and the PIF have done with LIV, is they've provided a higher element of contractual compensation while still maintaining an element of performance-based compensation at each tournament's event, at which the PGA Tour will do as well. But let's just not forget here that we are transitioning to a period where there will be more contractual compensation for golf global sports superstars. And frankly, that's the way global sports superstars are paid these days.
So the question begs itself then back to something that I mentioned before. Are we, the peasants in the fields, toiling away at our gardens, are we disconnected between the lightning bolts, between the gods? And how does it manifest itself? How do you know that the peasants are discontented? Well, a lot of people are pointing to the ratings, that ratings for the game of golf are not as high as they have been, to which one executive heard that and said, well, wait a minute, that may not be a sign of discontent. You heard Dom's question of the day. Would you rather play golf or watch golf? And 82+% are going, no, I'd rather play golf. And I can guarantee you that percentage has always been high like that if you ask somebody that question, because I think that golf is brought in as a main entree after you've had the appetizers and the fun of playing golf yourself, just like anything else. You go in to watch, if you're a huge baseball fan or hockey fan or what have you, you're usually watching it towards the end of your day. But David Abelees, who's the CEO of TaylorMade, had a different theory as to what's going on with these ratings.
You know, but what I do find interesting, and I had this discussion actually at Augusta with a few of our media partners, we've seen some of the media ratings be a bit softer than I think we all would have liked early in the season. And some are suggesting that's because the product and the separation between LIV and the PGA Tour have created a little bit of dilution in the sport. You know, I have a counter argument that would suggest that to some degree, there's so much golf being played at the recreational and core and avid level, there's just a little bit less being watched. And so, you know, when you see millions of new golfers come into the game and you see participation rates and golf courses filled and tee sheets that are booked, you know, from 7:30 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon, it's fairly evident that golf's in a great place because golfers are playing the game. And when they're playing the game, perhaps they're not watching as much as we'd like. But rest assured, I'm excited to see what the numbers look like for this past weekend. I firmly believe that the world of professional golf will get better over time, and that anytime there's some type of disruption in any ecosystem, whether it's at the world of professional golf or TaylorMade disrupts with a new technology, the net effect over time is you end up with something better. And that's a tough thing to go through. But when we look back 10 and 20 years from now, I think we will look back at this moment in time and believe that in the end, we ended up with something that was better than what we started with. And the challenges as you're going through that, at times it can be a bit out of balance and a bit disheartening. But I believe we'll end up in a better place. And as I mentioned earlier, we come from a very golf-optimistic viewpoint here at TaylorMade, and believe that things will continue to work toward a stronger position in the professional game over time.
David Abeles, who joined us in the Fairways of Life show immediately following the Masters, but it was before the ratings that he was alluding to. Those ratings came back and they were down by comparison. When we come back on the Fairways of Life show, we'll continue this conversation. Dom's going to hit me with some questions that are coming in from you guys through social media and otherwise over the last 24 hours. And as best we can, we'll try to sort it out for all of you. More after this.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
Boyne Golf provides the ultimate world-class golf destination with 10 championship-caliber courses spanning 3 resorts. Centered in Michigan's northern Lower Peninsula, the courses are the products of some of the game's masters, including Robert Trent Jones Sr., Arthur Hills, and Donald Ross. From the all-inclusive vacation packages, elite instruction with the Boyne Golf Academy, tournaments, and so much more, Boyne Golf truly offers an unrivaled Michigan golf vacation experience. Just log on to BoyneGolf.com.
I think when you're training for other sports, or why most people go to the gym is so that they can have muscles and be strong and be healthy. And a lot of the reason why they struggle to play golf is their body doesn't move properly for them to be able to hit a golf ball. And when you're training for golf, it's a little bit different because you're focused more on flexibility and mobility and being strong in motion. When you're able to kind of have a warm up and have a workout routine and kind of gradually build up to where you're training your body to move properly, yeah, you're going to get a lot of big dividends on the golf course.
Every January, PGA Tour Superstore pros meet every manufacturer, learn about the latest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls. All so they can get you the perfect fit.
What if we started a company and the company was under no time constraints, no financial constraints? The one constraint is their clubs had to be exceptional performers and much better than any other alternative. I was told time and again it'll never work. It worked like a house of fire. And I'll tell you what, I think our customers love it. BXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. As on this day, we've endeavored to kind of sort through what's the image of the game today and what's the reality of the game, because it has different elements to it, and the perceptions that exist in terms of what the most important elements are versus, in my mind, what the reality is, which is what I call the 99.99%, which is you. The most important part of the game of golf are you people. What you do, where you do it, when you do it, how you do it, why you do it. It's the thing that funds the whole rest of the game, all of it. Right? And to that point, when we're involved in discussions of declaring that other people's money is more than what they should get, or more than what they should make, or how much is this person making as a percentage compared to that person, and what amount of equity someone deserves and doesn't deserve. Just as an aside, the interesting point there is that those decisions are all being made by people whose compensation is not based upon what they actually do. It's based upon the executive role that they have, which is interesting, because when you're talking about the game of golf in these evolution economics that Casey Alexander was just talking to us about, that's changing, and there's a shift that's going on. And that shift is definitely making a lot of people uncomfortable for a whole variety of different reasons. But sometimes you have to go to the elder statesmen of our game. Sometimes you have to go to the legends who can sit back and look at something with a perspective of time and of accomplishment and go, the game of golf is about so much more. It's about more than money. It's about more than contracts. It's about more than eyeballs. And it's truly about passion and hearts and minds and the positive impact that it can make. Here's Tom Watson.
Over the years, Matt, I've created a foundation to basically do one thing, and that is to create lifetime golfers, and to create lifetime golfers with kids in mind. Here in Kansas City, we started a Clubs for Kids program. Then that evolved into another program, which was kind of the precursor of the First Tee program. Then the First Tee program came on board, and I was a big proponent of that, to get kids learning the game. But there was always a missing element there to me. How do you get the kids from the practice tee to the golf course, playing with somebody like I played with my father, to give them the understanding of how to play the game? How do you make that putt from 4 feet downhill? How do you read a green? How do you hit the ball out of rough? How do you hit it off an upslope? How do you hit it off a downslope? How do you hit it out of a bunker like this? And have real golf course experience. And it finally dawned on me, a program like we have now in Watson Links is the way to do that. It's the missing link, is to get kids who don't necessarily have the access to playing golf, or especially not playing golf with somebody who knows how to play and loves the game with a passion, to get out in the golf course with those people. I get back to the way I grew up. I want to give back to that in the same sense that my father took passion and the love for the game, how to play it, and how to act on the golf course. Kids today, if they get started, they want to know how to play real golf. They want to know how to act on the golf course. And our Watson Lynch program gives that opportunity to these kids. Well, the professional game is fractured. I think the game of golf in general is going in a great direction. I love the increased number of golfers that we see, especially the kids and the women, who are more kids and more women are playing the game. COVID had a big effect on that, but it's still continuing. There's an after effect to it, and that's really good for the game.
And I think it's good that PGA of America, the USGA have these programs, as Tom was just talking about, where you're trying to get people on the golf course that maybe had not been introduced to the game before, in particular young people on the golf course. And if you look at participation levels with female golfers, be them young girls or be them women, they're better than they've ever been before. Dom, what do you have for me today? Was there anything that you have coming in, or any questions that you wanted to go over before we wrap up today's show?
Yeah, we didn't have enough time to do anything, Matt. We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds before we have to be off the air, and I've got about 79 graphics I didn't get to use. So in the 2 minutes I have left, I'm going to show one of those graphics. Andrew, put that in there. I think this is an interesting graphic. This is obviously incredibly up to date. This is coming from NGF. This is on and off course participants in golf, and you can see the numbers there are incredibly strong and incredibly positive. And I love, Matt, what I'm looking at. Huge
Yeah,
percentage of females. Look at the off-course stuff.
Yeah, just to illustrate what Dom.
Gap.
Hold on one second, Dom. Just to illustrate what Dom's showing here so you guys understand what it is, to simplify it. The green is the on-course, the dark blue is the off-course, and the light blue is the combination. So if you look at it, the demographic, which for the game of golf has always hovered right around 50, is coming down. It's at currently, this last reporting year, at 46 years old on course. The combo is 42 because off-course average is 31. Basically what they're saying, this is golf participation. Anytime you have a club in hand. For example, it's just like when Seth Watt told us that if you went out into the yard and you played horse, right, for basketball, you've played basketball. That number counts. It's the same now. Golf is measuring itself against the same metrics as any other sport. Look at the percentage of females. 42% off course, 42, 28% on course, which is up. Then you have people of color at 43%. The combo is 23%. Households over $100,000 because they always talk about golf because golf ultimately is a very, very sought after demographic. 41% off course, 42% on course. The combination you can see there. And so, yeah, Dom, that's it's an excellent graphic. I'm sorry that we didn't get to more of your graphics that you had today, but it illustrates where the game of golf is going. And the reason why I wanted to go down this road with all of you today was and I suspect that you probably knew this already. Maybe you didn't know the exact numbers of how positive the game actually is doing, how well it's doing in the right direction that it is going. And we just wanted to celebrate that because the game of golf is doing fine. I hope you guys are too, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now.